Welcome to the deep dive. Let's get straight to it. Today we're diving into something I know really hits home for many of you. That feeling of holding back. That shyness that just creeps in when you want to speak English.
Oh, absolutely. It's such a common thing for English learners. And it's good to remember, like one of our sources said, being shy isn't a bad thing. It's actually totally okay and normal to be shy. It's just, well, it's a human thing.
Right, it's normal. But the problem is, as we saw, a lot of people want to feel more comfortable when they talk. They want to express themselves, but something holds them back.
Yeah.
It's like shyness gets in the way, you know? You have the thought, maybe it's a really good point, but then poof, it's gone.
And that's exactly what we want to unpack today. Our mission, really, for this deep dive is to look at some practical, actual things you can do to build confidence in your spoken English. So that shyness, well, it becomes less of a roadblock.
Okay, so let's dig into why. Why does this shyness pop up when we're trying to speak English? What are the roots here?
Well, a big factor is that feeling of being exposed. That's how one source put it.
Toast.
Yeah. Think about it, right? You're in a group, someone asks you a question, and bam, all eyes are on you.
Oh, yeah.
That feeling of vulnerability, that can totally trigger the shyness. It's like you're suddenly under this big spotlight.
That spotlight feeling is so real. Your palms start sweating a bit, maybe your mind goes blank, or it starts racing with all those worst case scenarios we read about. Like, what if I just completely bomb and everyone stares?
Right. That fear of being judged negatively is super powerful. And, you know, it's often connected to things that happened before.
Past experiences.
Exactly. Like the source said, past mistakes sneak in too, like that time you tried joining a group chat and felt your words came out wrong. Our brains kind of hang on to those moments.
Yeah, they do.
And what makes us hesitant, you know, to try again. It's like your brain's trying to shield you from feeling that way again.
It's like that little voice going, uh-oh, remember last time? Awkward. And then I think so many of us do this. We compare ourselves.
Oh, definitely.
You hear someone online, they sound so smooth, so perfect, and instantly it's like, wow, why can't I sound like that? I'll never be that good. Our research mentioned that too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Comparing ourselves, especially to these, you know, maybe idealized versions we see, it can just kill your motivation.
Totally.
And underneath all of that, really, is often this core fear. Fear of mistakes, fear of judgment, fear of just not being good enough.
Okay. So we see some of the reasons this happens. Now let's get to the good stuff. What can we actually do to build that confidence? Strategy 1 is about tackling those negative thoughts. How does that work?
Right. This is about tuning into that inner critic, you know, the one we all have. Like the source says, when your mind whispers, I'm not good enough, catch it and say, wait, maybe I can do this. So it's this active thing. You notice the negative talk.
You catch it.
You catch it, and then you consciously choose to reframe it, to turn it around.
Yeah.
Like mental judo, almost. Using the negative thoughts energy differently.
Mental judo, I like that. So give us some real-world examples. How do we actually flip the script on those thoughts?
Okay, sure. So let's say you catch yourself thinking, ugh, can't pronounce that word right. You could consciously challenge that with, okay, maybe I can try to pronounce it. And even if it's not perfect, people will probably still get what I mean.
Right, communication over perfection.
Exactly. Or if you're thinking, my grammar is awful, maybe flip it to, my grammar is getting better and people understand me. The point is to actively push back with something more, well, realistic and kinder to yourself.
Yeah, stop listening to that inner Debbie Downer. Our source even suggested practicing this with small phrases, right? So if the thought is, what if I sound dumb? The flip could be,
maybe something like, it's okay if I sound a bit awkward sometimes, I'm learning.
Right. It might feel a bit weird at first, saying these things to yourself. But the idea is, if you keep doing it, these more positive, realistic thoughts start to feel more natural, more automatic.
Precisely. And that leads nicely into our next strategy, which is also about shifting perspective, but specifically about comparing ourselves to others.
Yes, the comparison trap, which, as we said, is so easy to fall into.
It really is. You hear someone fluent, and it's just instant, oh man, I'm nowhere near that. But one of our resources had a great reminder. Everyone starts somewhere. Even those speakers you admire had first days when they stumbled over simple words. That's so important to remember. Nobody just starts fluent.
That's so true. So instead of getting hung up on this idea of perfect fluency, The advice is really to focus on your journey, your progress.
Yeah.
It's like, learning any skill. You wouldn't compare your first shaky attempt at baking cookies to a professional pastry chef, right?
Haha. Right.
Right.
You just be happy if they were edible.
Exactly. You focus on whether you did a little better than last time.
And instead of letting admiration turn into discouragement, the source suggests using it as inspiration. Like ask yourself, what is it about their speaking I like? Maybe I can try incorporating a little bit of that.
So using it as a clue, like the source said.
Not a rope to pull you down.
Yeah.
Use their skill as a guide, not a weapon against yourself.
That's a much healthier way to look at it, and it ties back to remembering your own unique strengths, too. Our source emphasized that you have your own strengths, your voice, your perspective. That's something no one else can copy.
That's powerful. Your unique way of seeing things, your personality that comes through when you speak, and it's valuable.
Absolutely. Okay, so strategy 3 shifts from mindset more to action. Keep showing up. What does that mean in practice for someone feeling shy?
Well, it means pushing yourself gently to participate, even when that little voice says, stay quiet.
Even when it's uncomfortable.
Especially then, sometimes. The source gave a simple but great example.
Yeah.
Someone asked what you thought of a movie. Instead of just, it was good, try adding one more bit.
Right.
Like, yeah, it was good. I really liked the action scenes, but I felt the ending was a bit slow. What did you think?
Ah, okay. Just adding that one extra layer.
Exactly. It keeps you in the conversation, builds that muscle of expressing yourself, and it also applies when you inevitably make a mistake.
Right, because that will happen.
It will. The source used the example of mixing up borrow and lend instead of just shutting down an embarrassment.
We're just tempted.
So tempting. You just quickly correct yourself and keep going. Oh, sorry, lend. Anyway, I wanted to lend you this book. Have you read it? You just keep the conversation moving.
Don't let the mistake become a full stop. And this showing up idea applies online too, right? Like in chat groups.
Absolutely. Even just typing a short reply, joining in a little bit, that's still practice. It's putting your English out there. And the key thing the source mentioned is consistency. Keep doing it, even on days you don't really feel like it.
That consistent effort seems key. Which brings us to the next strategy, closely related. Embrace imperfection.
Yes. This feels huge because I think so much anxiety comes from wanting to get everything perfect.
Right, the fear of messing up.
But, like our source says, you're still learning, so it's totally fine if what you say isn't perfect yet. I mean, think about it, even native speakers mess up.
All the time. We say, we stumble, we restart sentences.
Exactly. We make grammar mistakes sometimes. It's just part of talking.
It's true. We're often way harder on ourselves in a second language.
Yeah.
The source had that example saying, I go to the store yesterday instead of I went. In your first language, you'd probably just self-correct and move right on.
Right, you wouldn't dwell on it. But if you stop and analyze every single little slip-up in English, it just breaks your flow and makes you even more self-conscious.
Yeah, it feeds the shyness.
It does. So the takeaway is, remember, most people are listening to what you're saying, your message, not hunting for tiny errors.
That's actually really freeing. Aim for connection, not flawless grammar. Okay, so strategy 5 is about finding ways to practice where the pressure isn't so high.
Yeah, finding those low-stress, low-stakes situations. Our source has some great ideas here. Ordering food or coffee is a classic.
Totally. Can I have a latte, please? Thanks. Simple, effective practice.
Exactly. Other ideas for the materials were things like sending short voice messages to friends, maybe friends who are also learning, or supportive native speakers.
Oh, that's a good one. Less pressure than a live call.
Right. Or leaving simple comments on YouTube or social media in English. Reading signs out loud to yourself. Even sending short texts in English, like, I'm home now.
Little tiny moments.
Tiny moments that add up. They build familiarity and chip away at the fear because the stakes are so low.
Makes sense. And strategy 6 builds on practicing with others, but focuses on people you trust.
Right. This is about creating a safer space for practice.
So friends, maybe family, teachers you feel comfortable with.
Exactly. People who you know will be patient and encouraging, not overly critical. And the source even suggests being direct, ask for feedback.
Oh, interesting. How would you do that?
You could say something like, hey, I tried explaining X in English yesterday. Could you tell me if that sounded okay or if there's a better way to say it?
Okay, being specific.
Yeah. Or you could even do role-playing with them, like practice ordering coffee or asking for directions. The big benefit here is feeling safe and supported while you practice, which can massively reduce that speaking anxiety.
That sounds really helpful. But what if you don't have someone readily available, or you still feel shy, even with friends? That brings us to strategy 7, practicing on your own.
Yep, independent practice, still very valuable.
So how do you practice speaking effectively by yourself?
Well, our source mentions a few things. One is just talking to yourself in English.
Like narrating your day.
Yeah, or describing what you're seeing, or even just trying to think your thoughts in English instead of your native language.
Yeah.
Another thing is targeting specific phrases or sentences you find tricky.
The ones you always stumble over.
Exactly. Say them out loud, repeat them until they feel a bit smoother, more automatic.
Okay. And then there was the recording suggestion.
Yes, recording yourself. Use your phone. Record yourself saying a few sentences, maybe reading something short.
And the scary part, listening back.
Haha. Yeah, that's the key part. It can feel a bit weird at first, definitely. But it's honestly one of the best ways to hear what you actually sound like.
Right. You can notice things about pronunciation or clarity.
Precisely. Maybe you notice you mumble a certain sound, or your rhythm feels off. You can also try mimicking short clips from English videos or podcasts. That helps with rhythm and intonation, too.
Listening back might feel awkward, but I can totally see how useful that self-awareness would be for targeted improvement.
It really is. Okay, and our final strategy, number 8, is all about acknowledging your progress. Celebrating the small wins.
Yes, this is so important. It's easy to just focus on the mountain still left to climb and forget to look back and see how far you've actually come. Like the source said, small wins matter. Every step counts, even the tiny ones.
And the source gave good examples of what those small wins might look like. Maybe it's finally saying more than just yes or no in a conversation.
Or successfully asking someone to repeat themselves. Could you repeat that, please? That's a win.
Totally. Or using a new phrase you learned and having it understood. Or maybe just speaking for, say, a full minute without feeling totally panicked.
These might seem small, but they are real steps forward. Our materials suggested maybe writing them down.
Yeah, or telling a friend or language partner, anything to really acknowledge it and reinforce that feeling of, hey, I did that. Because, like it says, those consistent small steps really do add up to big improvements over time.
They absolutely do. Okay, so just to help all this sink in, maybe we can quickly recap some of the key words and phrases that popped up.
Good idea. Let's do a quick review.
Okay, first was hold you back. So when shyness prevents you from speaking, it's holding you back.
Right. And similarly, gets in the way. It obstructs you, it hinders you. Shyness gets in the way of speaking.
Potential, that's your ability to improve, right? Everyone has the potential to speak more confidently.
Exactly. Then exposed that feeling of vulnerability when people are paying attention to you speaking.
Worst case scenarios, thinking about the absolute worst things that could happen when you speak.
Which rarely actually happen. Then trip over your words, stumbling or making mistakes while talking, often from nerves.
Blurting, saying something suddenly, maybe without thinking because you feel put on the spot.
Right. And sneak in. How those past negative experiences can subtly affect your confidence now. They sneak in.
Stumble over. Words similar to tripping, just difficulty speaking smoothly.
To flip a thought that's actively changing a negative thought into a more positive or realistic one.
And to shift perspective, changing how you view something, like shifting from comparison to focusing on your own progress.
Doubt. That feeling of uncertainty, lack of confidence that makes you hesitate to speak.
Speaking flawlessly, speaking perfectly, with zero errors. The advice is not to aim for this.
Right, aim for clarity. To stutter. Speaking with pauses or repeated sounds, often linked to nervousness.
Role play, acting out a situation like ordering coffee to practice the language.
And last one, feedback comments or information you get about your speaking to help you improve. Asking for feedback from trusted people is key.
Okay, great recap. So, the big picture here seems to be that overcoming shyness when speaking English isn't like flipping a switch.
Not at all. It's a process. It takes consistent effort, changing how you think about yourself and the learning journey, and really just being okay with not being perfect.
Yeah, every little step, every time you challenge that negative voice, every time you speak up, even when it feels a bit scary.
It all counts. It all builds towards becoming that more confident English speaker you want to be.
So maybe a final thought for you listening. Thinking about all these strategies we discussed today, which one feels like the most doable first step for you? What's one small thing you could try in your next English conversation or practice session?